On Friday, April 20th, Holocaust Remembrance Day, Laura Hillman, a Holocaust survivor, spoke at the Bowers Museum.
This afternoon you have the rare opportunity to hear someone who gives testimony against the lies because she managed to survive the most brutal regime the world has ever known. Not only did she survive, but she triumphed, and thus has become an inspiration for us all. Please welcome Laura Hillman.
Today we celebrate the people, the 6 million of our people who did not survive. Therefore, it's only fitting that I, a Holocaust survivor, should address you today. I wish it had been in place in the 30s and 40s, when then my family, my mother and father, my young brothers, uncles, aunts, and grandmothers would have had a long life and would have died a normal death. My young brothers would have thrived, and I would not have had to go through life alone. Yes, I stayed alive, but why? It's a question I'm most often asked by my audiences. I could never give them the answer. I just didn't know why, until I wrote the book. Writing it gave me the answer. It was luck in part, a set of circumstances where I stood at a given day, what time of year it was, and above all, the mood of the Nazi. I would like to tell you my own personal story. When I talk about my family, it's like drawing a curtain aside to days of my childhood days when I was a young girl. It all ended when I was 10 years old and Hitler came to power. Until then, we had many Jewish friends and neighbors, and our religious beliefs didn't make a difference. I was just as acquainted with Christmas and Easter as my friends and neighbors were with my holidays of Passover and Hanukkah. Religion didn't make a difference. We were children, and we played all the games children played. And then one day in 1933, Hitler came. Then came a day I will never forget. It was November 9th, 1938, when the Nazis burned our synagogue and all the synagogues all over Germany. I can still hear the Nazis knocking on our door to tell us to come out. My little brothers were frightened. They hid behind my mother. And so the Nazis, with clubs swinging, they took us to the site where the burning was in full progress. All the Jewish Torah scrolls, of which we had many, and prayer books, all into a pile of ashes. And indeed, the Germans came back for us. They had anticipated that some of us would hide. They took us in big trucks and sent us to a concentration camp called it was called Butzen. And there was an Obersturmführer, that means head of the camp, who was completely mad. And those of you who have seen Schindler's List and have seen the portrait of Amon Goeth, that's how this Nazi was, just the same. And at whim he could shoot everybody. But something wonderful happened in that camp too. As I was brought into that camp, there at the entrance stood a man in a Polish Jew uniform with a 3-cornered hat. He was very handsome, and he smiled at me. And for that instant, for that one instant, I thought I was in love with him and he was me. And it wasn't as if he could hold hands or talk. We had to be mindful of the guards. But Bernard Hillman was his name, and he became my husband after the war. And because he worked in the soup kitchen, he was able to give me a little soup, sometimes a boiled potato or a piece of bread, or even some warm brew that was called coffee. And these goodies helped save me strong. because the Nazis gave us very little to eat. We promised one another we would keep ourselves strong and clean so that one day we might be together. And today I stand before you with humility and appreciation for having found a new home in the United States of America. And I hope you will remember that prejudice should not exist. Let's be friendly with everyone. Let's care for one another. That can lead to peace. I thank you all for listening. Thank you.